Welcome to my early game guide. I will show you how to master the early game, which can let you get an easy top 4 if you play correctly. You start off on the carousel. Normally you have like 2 to 3 comps that you prefer to play, so you want to get an item that your comp needs. Most of the time you just want to go for a chain vest or a BF sword, but if you really like playing Star Guardians or Space Jam, picking up a rod or a tier here works well too. After the first creep round, we enter stage 1-3. The goal here is to pick up units that synergize well together, as well as getting as many 1-cost 2 stars as possible. Synergies that are strong early game is Chrono, Cybernetics, Space Pirates, and if you have red buff, Blaster is insanely good early. Units that are strong early are Xayah, Caitlyn, Graves, Darius, Blitzcrank, Shen, and Lucian. Note that any 1-cost that you 2-star will be good to put in as well, besides Ziggs and Zoe, they kinda suck right now. Also, I want to add that you never reroll, level up, or sell units to make 10 gold on stage 1. And then we get to stage 2. Here you will start fighting other players, so you want to make the strongest board you can. This means putting in the strongest champions as well as the strongest synergies possible. Your early game board varies a lot each game, but with experience you can pick out what the strongest board is. Let's talk about items early game. Most of the time you aren't 100% sure what comp you're playing, so making items here sounds a bit scary. You don't want to build an item that you can't use later in the game. However, by not building items early game, you lose a lot of power as the components are just sitting on your bench doing nothing. Therefore, we make good and flexible items like GA, Ionic Spark, Bramblevest, Trapclaw, and Zephyr. There are some items you can make that are somewhat flexible but not ideal in a lot of comps. But know that if you make these, you are somewhat locking yourself into 1 or 2 comps. For example, IE is a great item in Cybernetics and Darkstars, but sucks in comps like Star Guardians or Space Jam. So if you play a lot of Cybers and Darkstar, slamming IE early is not a bad idea. Same goes for an item like Red Buff. This item is essential in Brawler Blaster as well as Cybernetics, but it is useless in comps like Mech or Darkstars. Lastly, I want to go over some items that are very strong early and are often built to get early game power to win streak, but they fall off late game as they're not ideal for your comp. These items are built to go for easy top 4s generally. The items are Static Shiv, Swap Portal, Thieves Gloves, and Zeke's Herald. So who do you put the items on? Well, you need what is called an item carrier. This is a champion that carries the items you will put on a future champion you will be playing. For example, if you decide to play Star Guardians, Syndra is your main carry, but Syndra is a 3-cost and is not often found until the mid game. Twisted Fate is not in the endgame build of that comp, so you can put AP or mana items on him and his spell will benefit greatly from it. So when you find the Syndra, sell the TF and move the items over to her. This way we got value out of the items early and we don't have to sell essential units for our comp. Or say you're playing Darkstars, Caitlyn is a great item carrier for Jhin. Same thing, once you find the Jhin, you sell the Caitlyn and move the items over to Jhin. It is important not to stack items on a unit that you need late game. This is because 1-costs are a lot harder to come by at level 7 to 8, but if you have no other choice, I'll give you an example of how it's done. Fiora is a great item carrier for Irelia. However, if you are playing Cybernetics, you need Fiora late game to get the 6 Cyber trait. If you stacked her with IEs, you need to sell her when you find the Irelia as she carries much harder with those items. So if you stack a unit you need in your late game comp, make sure to have a backup on your bench so that when you sell it to move the items over, you can put another one in. But as a general rule for who to put items on, AD items go on Xayah, Caitlyn, Fiora, or Graves. AP items go on Darius, TF, and Ahri. Tank items or utility items can go on any frontliners. Okay, so you got your champs and your item carrier, so let's talk about how you position them. If you hit 3 Cybers early, generally Lucian will deal the most damage, hence he is your carry for the time being. So you want to protect him, and what makes the most sense right off the bat is to place Fiora and Leon in the front and Lucian behind them. However, some people run Blitzcrank in the early game, and you don't want Lucian to get yanked and killed instantly. Therefore, we put a unit behind him to sacrifice themselves to Blitz. This is commonly a unit that can tank a bit so it doesn't die right away. If you have 2 carries, in this example Xayah and Caitlyn, you don't really care too much if one of them gets hooked. As long as the strongest one of them survives, you're good. If you only have melee units, you want to put your carry in the middle, as most players put their carries on the sides. This way they won't get targeted by the carries right away and you will survive longer. To finish off, let's talk about economy management, leveling, and streaking. As a general rule of thumb, if you get a gold start, you want to make at least 10 gold on 2-3. If you get a 4 item, no gold start, make sure to make at least 10 gold on 2-5. This will vary a lot, and you don't want to sell good units you know you will play soon to make econ. For example, if you're level 4 and you're playing 3 cyber with Graves and you have a Jace on your bench, don't sell the Jace to make econ, as he will be great to put in at level 5. You don't want to go too overboard with this though. For example, if you have the same board but this time you have a Vi on your bench instead of a Jace, selling the Vi to make econ is worthier, as she won't make you spike as hard as the Jace will. So it is very hard to judge if selling is worth it or not, but if in doubt, sell for econ. Leveling is often done on 2-2 to level 4 and 2-5 to level 5. Never level to 6 on stage 2. If you are going to level, make sure you're putting in a strong unit or a unit that gives you a good trait. The reason you want to level is to win streak and get your gold back that way. If you level aggressively and manage to streak throughout stage 2, you're in a very good spot. You get a lot of gold from streaking and you manage to maintain your health. If you have a weak board and you lost the first 3 rounds, losing the next 2 isn't a bad idea. Getting a perfect loss streak and focusing on econ can put you around 50 gold at Krugs if you do it well, which will be further ahead than most of the other players. Note that if you lose a lot of rounds in the early game, you need to start winning after Krugs. If you get too low, it doesn't matter if you have all this gold if you just die. Thanks for watching the video. If you learned something, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you want me to make a video on another topic or you have feedback, please leave it in the comments. And anyways, goodbye guys.